I came here looking for a job in 1963. It was the only place I came for an interview, actually. Of course of the day, I talked to people, and they offered me a job before the day was out, and I accepted, and been here ever since.
He was such an incredible professor. You know, the classes were fun, the classes were interesting. I decided at that point, whatever he taught, that's what I was going to take.
The first time I met Dr. Barefield would have been when I interviewed for a scholarship at Wake Forest when I was a high school senior. He really showed that he had given my application a lot of thought and had also given a lot of thought to who I was as a person and was asking me questions based on those things as opposed to just a standard slate of kind of boring interview questions.
My favorite place on campus, I suppose, was the honors room in Tribble Hall for many years. That's where I could do the kind of teaching I liked best, and I liked the crowd in there.
He has always been the voice that says the most important thing is the relationship between the student and the teacher.
So many of the signature aspects of our university, of Wake Forest, of what makes Wake Forest for so many of us, stem in part from him having shaped them. Our study abroad programs are the way they are in significant part because of his early work.
The way they decided to start was to get a house in Europe that people would go to, which, as it turns out, was not the usual way to start, but it's the way we did. I taught Renaissance history. Very few people taught anything about Italy, and so I kind of got volunteered at the beginning. And after that, I went every 5 years, I guess.
He always said that having the students abroad away from their parents, it was pulling students away from what they were familiar with and forcing them to examine themselves and examine, you know, something that was foreign to them, and he thought that was a huge growth experience, and it was.
Well, it gets them out of their comfort zone, and it shows them there are other ways of living. And I suppose that's the major thing, it's for it, to make people less provincial.
I'm currently an orthopedic cancer surgeon, which is well removed from the history I studied with Dr. Barefield, but you know, the reality is that in terms of day-to-day impact, he has more influence on me than any teacher I had in medical school. You know, I think in terms of the values of the university and trying to embody some of the ideals of what Wake Forest means, you can't think of anybody better than Jim Barefield.
He's just got a magical quality as a teacher and ultimately as a friend. There are dozens of students going back 4 decades who find their way regularly to Jim Barefield's office or house to catch up, to tell stories, to hear stories most of all.
What he means to the institution certainly merits more recognition than he would desire for himself, I think.
If I could have minored in Jim Barefield at Wake Forest, if the college had allowed it, I would have.
You have been a great mentor, you have been a great friend, and I think you have left tremendous impact on this university.